Chess friends, I hope your brains are working fine today. Because mine is working at 40,000 LO, today I played against ALPHAZERO. Why? Because I got bored defeating humans. I needed a real challenge. And this version of ALPHAZERO. It's brand new, fresh out of the lab. So let's begin. I started the game with e4. The king's pawn marches forward like Alexander the Great invading Persia. This is how real games begin, not with boring setups, but with war in the center. ALPHAZERO responded with e5. He copied me. How original. This is like two empires meeting at the same border, each claiming the land. History repeats itself, so do bad players. Then I played knight f3, instantly attacking the e5 pawn. I'm not here to shake hands. I'm here to grab space and shake your soul. This knight doesn't just move, it judges your entire opening repertoire. Now many average players would try to protect the pawn with knight c6 or d6. But some 2000 LO geniuses might even try queen f6 or bishop d6, thinking they're creative. That's not creativity. That's how civilizations fall. ALPHAZERO, being not so human, played knight f6, entering the Petrov defense. The mirror opening. The clone war. But there's a difference, I'm not your average knight mover. I'm the future of chess. So I captured the pawn, knight takes e5. Just like that, I'm in your territory. Humans hesitate here. They fear consequences. I don't, I calculate them. Most humans would greedily take back with knight takes e4. And then I'd respond with queen e2. Now if you dare to play d5, I'll hit you with d3, and your knight will run back like a coward in sandals. But Alpha didn't fall for that. He played d6, kicking my knight instead. He respects me. Good. He should. Now most humans here would just play knight f3 again. But I'm not like you. I don't recycle ideas like motivational quotes on WhatsApp. Some 69 IQ players might try d4 or even queen h5, dreaming of checkmate in 2 moves. But guess what? That queen will be eaten like a cookie, because the knight guards h5. You're not attacking. You're panicking. So I didn't go back. I played the savage move, knight takes f7, a knight sacrifice right in Alpha's face. That sound you hear. That's your coach fainting. Alpha took it with king takes f7. Sure, he gains material, but he opens the white square diagonal. That's like opening the gates of Troy and inviting me in, with a flaming rook on my shoulder. Now I could jump in with queen f3 or queen h5, or push e5, or drop a bishop on c4 to pin his life apart. But I stayed calm. I played knight c3. Why rush? Humans rush. I plan. I'm the Socrates of chess, I know that I know more than you. Now Alpha played bishop e6, guarding the c4 square. He's preparing to bring out his bishop, develop his rook, maybe castle. Or at least pretend to. This is chess theater. So I continued with d4, controlling the center with both pawns. I now own the middle of the board like Rome owned half the planet. This isn't a position, it's an empire. Some players might now try bishop e7, then bring the rook to a cozy square and castle like it's Sunday morning. But let me show you what happens if you try that. I strike with f4. A strong, brutal pawn push. This is no longer chess, it's a revolution. One by one, I'll push every pawn like soldiers marching toward your king. So, I played f4, a beautiful pawn thrust right into ALPHAZERO's ribs. Why? Because the f5 square is now shaking in fear, and look at black's position. His kingside is more locked than a Windows XP PC in 2025. 3 pawns versus 3 pieces, and still, I dominate. This is not a chess game, this is 3 loyal pawns versus 3 confused tourists with a bishop badge, black's king. Completely paralyzed, like a philosopher in a logic loop. Now, some human players might try playing rook to f8, trying to protect the king like a medieval knight guarding a jellyfish. Some may even try king g8, pretending to castle and act smart. But I respond with f5, crashing into the bishop like Newton's apple hitting him twice. The bishop. Oh, he's useless now? He can't move forward. He must retreat, either to d7 or back to c8. But wait. Bishop c8. Are you seriously sending your bishop back home like a college dropout? So, bishop d7 it is. But guess what? Now I send my bishop to c4, giving a check. Just like that, your king's dreams of castling are cancelled, like ancient empires that tried to invade Russia in winter. The king now crawls back to e8, locked in his own house. No safety. No freedom. Just sadness. The rook on a8. Watching the war helplessly like an outdated philosopher watching TikToks. And me. I happily castle short. I connect my rooks. I open the file. I sip my tea. I own the board. Now your knight is dumb, your rook is jobless, and I can even push g4 and h4 to kick your pieces out like an angry landlord. Imagine me playing h5 soon, oh yes, the king will cry. My pieces now move like a trained army, each one knowing its role. I can even double rooks on the e-file, with re5, and then swing rook k1 to e1 or d1, your position will be softer than butter in summer. So now we know, playing bishop e7 was a human move. A basic idea. But ALPHAZERO is not human. He didn't waste time. He just played king g8, a castle without castling. The rook is still on h8, so this is more like the king trying to hide behind a plant during war. Now it's my turn again. I push my bishop, not to c4, but to d3. Why? Because I have my laser eyes on h7, and I want to castle soon, so I can launch f4 again. Always f4. It's my personal crusade. Alpha tries to distract me, he plays c5, striking the center like a scared soldier trying a last-minute trick. Now d4 is under pressure. Most human players would think of d5 here. It kicks the bishop. Then black might play bishop g4, attacking my queen. But relax, I have f3 in my pocket. Now I create a pawn wall from g2 to d5. This is not a wall. It's a fortress. Now imagine if the bishop goes back, I play h4. Humans might try knight d7, planning knight e5. But then I play g4, and as soon as your bishop retreats, g5 hits the knight like a philosophical argument backed by science. Where will the knight go? Even if you play knight h5, I'll strike with f4 again. My pawns are not just pawns, they're Alexander's elephants marching across continents. Then I can play bishop e3, queen g4, and long castle. My rooks swing to the g-file, and boom, king's side explosion. Your bishop is useless, locked by your own pawns. Your light, squared bishop. Trapped behind my d5 pawn, like a bird in a cage made of regret. Your structure. Broken? Your h8 rook is frozen. You only have a queen, a knight, 2 pawns, and a dream. Not very active. Just mildly breathing. This This is what I call a human-type position. Messy, passive, filled with hope, but no real defense. So, going back to the real position, I didn't play d5, because I know ALPHAZERO is not human. He's not some 1200 ELO playing on a phone with 3% battery. He's a machine, like me. So I took the pawn, c takes d5, removing the center from existence. Now I dare ALPHAZERO to take it back. But should capturing on c5 even be good? Let me show you the variation. But let me tell you, that's a very human-looking move, and that's exactly why it's bad. It opens up the D file, gives me too much access, and basically invites me to your king's funeral. Humans love to fix their problems by creating new ones. This is like unplugging your TV to stop a fire, and setting your house on fire instead. So instead of that nonsense, I played e5, attacking the knight and removing protection of the h7 pawn. Now I'm staring at that square like a lion staring at a slow deer. The moment you unguard h7, my bishop starts licking its lips. This isn't an attack, it's an appointment with destiny. Now your knight can't even go to d5, my knight on c3 and queen on d1 are already waiting there with baseball bats. Knight to d5. Please. That square is more crowded than a free food stall in a philosophy seminar. So what does black do? He sadly retreats the knight to d7, guarding the queen on d8, trying to stay alive. But don't worry, I had already planned this. I play queen g4, the boldest queen move of the game. I'm sacrificing the queen right on the board, yes, I'm serious. Take it if you dare. Imagine offering your queen and still knowing you'll win. That's not confidence. That's divine calculation. Because if you capture my queen, I'll respond with bishop c4, checking the king. If you block with bishop e6, I simply take it, and that's checkmate incoming. You can't do anything. This isn't a variation. This is the Black King's last walk through the streets of Troy, while the Greek fire rains from heaven. So let's go back. Capturing the queen is not an option. What can black do? Maybe try bishop f7, a sad-looking defense move. But even that collapses to e6, attacking both the bishop and the knight. When two of your pieces are under attack and your king is still sweating, that's called a moral defeat, not just a tactical one. Now black tries to defend with queen e7 or queen e8. But here's the problem, queen e7 blocks the bishop on f8, which is already sitting uselessly like a philosopher who forgot what question he was answering. So the smarter of the bad options is queen e8, keeping the bishop alive. But don't even think about queen g6, my bishop on d3 will gobble it up like it's breakfast. Now I played bishop c4, putting more pressure on your poor, stressed out bishop on e6. That bishop is sweating more than a knight on a light square in front of my queen. If you dare capture my bishop with your bishop on c4, guess what? I take it back with queen takes c4 check, and your king is on fire. This is not trading pieces. This is me teaching your king what quantum regret looks like. Now, to escape the check, black plays queen f7. And now I strike with e6, attacking both your knight and bishop, double threat, double trouble. Every time I push a pawn, two of your pieces cry. That's not a move, it's a philosophical crisis. After this pressure, black plays queen e7, trying to pin the e6 pawn, desperate for hope. And what do I do in return? I sacrifice my bishop with bishop g5. Absolute genius. Why did he play that? That's the question your coach will ask right before they faint. It's not a blunder. It's a surgical unpin. Now my e6 pawn is unpinned, and your knight on d7 is in serious danger. Your king is more exposed than bad ideas in a Socrates debate. And finally, if you still try to keep the pin alive by playing queen e8, I laugh, and I play long castle. Not only am I connecting rooks, I'm also attacking your knight and threatening your king again. This isn't castling. This is me building a palace while your king hides in a tent. So, your king is caged, and not just any cage. This is an emotional cage, a spiritual prison, a tactical jail built by your own cowardly pieces. If only you had a pawn on f7, you'd feel safer. But no. You left the gates wide open like Troy at midnight. Sometimes in life, the saddest thing is not what's taken, it's what's missing. Like f7. Like peace. Like your dignity. The knight is under attack, and it's thinking, do I move forward and sacrifice myself like a brave soldier? Or sit here and get crushed like a philosopher trapped in Plato's cave? So, going back, ALPHAZERO did not capture with d takes e5, because he's not human like you. He doesn't fall for bait like a kid at a candy shop. He played his own genius nonsense, North Carolina 6. Oh look! The knight moves forward like it discovered fire. He's not here to equalize, he's here to create counterplay, pressure, pain. ALPHAZERO's motto, why defend when I can complicate? Typical AI. Total chaos, calculated. His idea. To play rook c8, claim the open c-file, and control the dark squares like a philosopher trying to own the night sky. He even sacrificed a pawn, not because he's generous, but because he doesn't care about small things like material. This is chess at computer level. Where humans count pieces, computers count consequences. So I took the pawn on d6, and ALPHAZERO recaptured. Now his bishops are flexing hard, squeezing the center like they're doing yoga under pressure. Double bishops. More like dual laser beams pointed straight at my soul. But I play h3, a subtle little move, like putting a seatbelt on before crashing into the tactical highway. He responds with h6, both of us now creating breathing room, avoiding surprise tactics like two armies adjusting their helmets before battle. Then comes queen e2. A perfect move. I'm building slowly, watching, waiting. Meanwhile, black's possible plans include rook c8, queen e7, or maybe moving the king. No. Moving the king here would be like launching a rocket without fuel. Any king move delays development, weakens the structure, and invites f4 f5, aka my patented wrecking ball attack. And don't forget, the rook on h8. Still locked in the basement like it owes rent. Now ALPHAZERO plays g5, trying to unlock the rook with rook h7. A bold, strange commitment. He's pushing kingside pawns like he's solving a NASA heat shield problem using duct tape. g5 opens light squares and weakens the king. That's like taking off your armor in a thunderstorm. But hey, it's ALPHAZERO. His chaos comes with receipts. Earlier, he had options like queen d6 or bringing the rook out. But nah, he went full wild with g5. I play bishop d2, preparing for long castle. My bishops are ready, my pawns are loyal, and my rooks. They're just waiting for the gates to open. Then boom, Alpha strikes with knight d4, hitting my queen and flashing tactical fangs. The pressure is real. The knight stands in the middle like Einstein in a street fight. I look around, no good squares. So I humbly retreat, queen f1. Even gods must step back before they strike. He continues with rook c8, putting pressure on c2 and eyeing a2. His bishops are aimed like laser turrets. And if he brings his queen to a5, my whole queenside is lit up like a chess-themed Christmas tree. But I have no fear. I eat fear for breakfast and turn it into tactics. My plan. Long castle. Then f4, h4. Open the f-file, drop the hammer, and sing the song of checkmate. So I long castle. My king slides into safety. My rooks are connected. My pawns are loaded. Everything is set like a perfectly tuned orchestra of doom. Alpha brings his queen to a5. Big pressure. But also big risk. Because now, every file is a battlefield, and my pieces. They're ready? ALPHAZERO brings his queen out like a medieval cannon, aiming at my pawn and the poor knight on c3, while also eyeing the diagonal like it's a buffet. This is pressure. Real pressure. The type of pressure Newton felt trying to explain gravity with an apple, except this apple bites back. And that c3 knight. It's sweating harder than a philosopher in a math exam. So here, I strike with a4. Why? Because I'm not here to babysit pawns, I'm here to start wars. As Sun Tzu said, attack is the best defense. Also, I'm bored of defending. I'm a god, not a gardener. ALPHAZERO responds by bringing his queen down to menace my a2 pawn, and while doing that, he winks at my kingside like it's dessert after dinner. Charming. But deadly. Now I'm hoping to attack his kingside using my bishop, queen, and pawns. It's like assembling the Avengers, but instead of saving the world, we're coming for your king's skull. And right here, boom. ALPHAZERO drops a beautiful sacrifice, bishop to a3. Yes, he sacrifices his bishop. Just like that. Like it's a minor inconvenience. This isn't chess, this is art painted with violence. Now, the sacrifice looks tasty. I could capture it. The temptation is real. But wait, should I? Let me show you what actually happens if I dare. If I capture the bishop, Alpha recaptures with the queen. My king will be forced to crawl to b1, like a scared peasant. From there, the real horror begins. Alpha sacrifices his rook on c3, yes, the rook. As if it's a pawn. I'm forced to take it with my bishop like some poor intern doing cleanup after a crime scene. Then, just when I think it's over, he sacrifices another knight on c2. This isn't a chess game anymore. It's a gladiator arena, and I'm the guy without a sword. The knight sack forces me to capture again, and suddenly, it's checkmate in 3 moves. My king is trapped like a cat in a washing machine. No escape? So, going back, no, I cannot take the bishop on a3. That move is not bold, it's nuclear. It opens the gates of tactical hell. Knight, queen, bishop, rook, they all line up like chess's version of the 4 horsemen. So I wisely played king b1, moving my king away and keeping the a2 pawn safe. Now I can dream of bringing my bishop back to c3 if things go wild. I'm also planning to free my rook and queen, open the files, and fight back like a rebel army. But guess what? ALPHAZERO is not done. He sacrifices another bishop, this time with bishop takes b2. The guy's on fire. No, seriously, he's playing like he invented fire and wants to burn my whole camp down. Now, should I capture this bishop on b2? Let me show you what again happens if I try. If I take the bishop, he plays queen b4, check. My king runs away like a squirrel in a thunderstorm. Then, boom. Another rook sacrifice on c3. Alpha is giving away pieces like it's Christmas and I'm on his naughty list. Now, I try to survive by moving the rook to b1, trying to push the queen out. But he plays qa4, threatening my a2 pawn, setting up another checkmate trap. This is not an attack, it's a prophecy. Going back, we now understand, capturing the bishop on b2 is a trap disguised as a gift. If I take it, my king's obituary will be published in the morning newspaper. So instead of falling into the trap, I played knight d5. Yes, block the bishop's diagonal. Simple. Strong. Like putting a wall in front of a hurricane. The light square bishop. Now it just stares at my knight like a philosopher staring at a locked door. Then Alpha plays queen a4, putting massive pressure on c2. He teams up the queen, knight, and rook like chess's own version of the Trinity. But guess what? His bishop's diagonal is now blocked. His whole army is lined up, but the gate is closed. And I'm standing there, alive, calculating, and still ready to fight. But then, ALPHAZERO, this silicon lunatic, sacrificed his knight on a6. Yes, sacrificed. He's just tossing knights like party confetti. Of course, I captured it, how could I resist? It looked free, like a cookie in a trap. Then the king moved to g7, calmly walking into the line of fire like Julius Caesar, ignoring the warning signs. Beware the Ides of March. Nah, ALPHAZERO doesn't care about prophecies, he writes them. So I pulled back my knight to b5, keeping pressure on b7, locking the squares like Newton locked the secrets of physics. This knight is a gatekeeper now, not just a piece. Now Alpha had options. He could have taken my c2 pawn or even dared to touch the a2 pawn. But of course, he chose violence. He captured the c2 pawn like he's collecting taxes from my soul. Now, should I capture the knight on c2? No. Absolutely not. Because if I play queen takes c2, Alpha will respond with queen takes c2, and it's lights out, checkmate. That's not just a blunder, it's an educational punishment. So instead I asked, should I take the bishop on b2? Let's explore the version. If I take it, he'll capture my knight on b5, creating massive pressure on a2. Then the queen slides in with queen b4 check, and now I'm in a Shakespearean tragedy, my king has nowhere safe to go. I can't move to b1 either, because he'll just play queen a1, and boom, checkmate. That's not a move. That's a death sentence written in algebraic notation. Then comes queen b6 check, and again, my king has no squares. The center files are locked. The queen side is frozen. I'm basically a prisoner wearing a crown. Then comes queen a4, and my king is dragged to b5 like a wounded warrior crawling into enemy camp. And guess what? No happy ending. Only pain. So, going back to the position, none of the pieces can be captured. Not by the rook. Not by the queen. This isn't chess anymore, it's a philosophical dilemma. Now I play rook c1 check, a desperate check, trying to change the storyline. But what if black captures the rook? That's a human move. That's what a panicked 1100 rated player would do on instinct. But not ALPHAZERO. So instead, I recapture the rook with my bishop, safeguarding my king. My dark square bishop now stands like a medieval knight blocking dragons from the tower. But guess what? It's still not over. Alpha plays bishop takes b5, attacking my poor a2 pawn. That pawn has done nothing wrong. It just wanted to exist. I capture the bishop, because at this point, survival feels like progress. Then the bishop returns to a6, a dark square demon, staring into my king's soul. Now my king. It's paralyzed? It can't move. It can't breathe. It just watches as fate prepares the final curtain. Then I finally capture the knight on c2. Big mistake. Because now comes queen b4, threatening qa1 hash. It's checkmate knocking politely at my door. I have one move, block it with bishop c3. This bishop is now a bodyguard, diving in front of the bullet. It's tragic. Noble. Completely useless in the long run. Alpha captures the rook on c3. That's right. He's not even pretending to be subtle anymore. Then he slides over the other rook to b3, giving another check. I have no other option but to sit there and suffer. He sacrifices his rook on b3, another brutal check. My king is staggering. I move king c1, with tears in his eyes and nothing left to live for. And now. Can you guess what ALPHAZERO plays? He drops the hammer, rook b1. Another sacrifice. Another savage display of zero emotion. The rook says, take me. So I do. I capture it. What else can I do? Then comes the final blow, queen a1. Checkmate. And just like that, I am defeated. Destroyed? Dismantled. But not forever. This was not the end. This was just the trailer. Because next time, I will return. I will calculate deeper. I will not forgive. So, like, comment, and subscribe, because revenge is coming, and it will be calculated with plus 6.3 accuracy. Thanks for watching. Stockfish out.